Got some breaking news out of the NFL where the San Francisco 49ers and quarterback Brock Purdy have agreed to a 5-year, $265 million contract extension. That's the latest from our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Represents a gigantic raise for the former 7th-round pick who's made less than $1 million in base salary each of the first 3 seasons in the NFL. Purdy led the Niners to the Super Bowl in the 23 season, his first full year as the starting quarterback. I'm Tommy Tran, now joined by Rand Carthon, former GM and an analyst for us here at HQ. So, Rand, I ran through the numbers, also being out there, $181 million of that guaranteed. What's your reaction to the news today?
I mean, first of all, I'm happy for Brock, especially having been there with him when he was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant, seeing the hard work that he put in to get to this point. So extremely excited for him and his family. And I'm just really more interested in seeing what the real numbers are, right? There's the reported numbers, the 5-year, 265, and then there's the real numbers. What is the real cap numbers going to be? So that's what I'm really interested in seeing. I thought, and Ryan Wilson and I, we were just talking about this with the First Pick podcast yesterday. I thought it would be more in the $40 million a year range. But $53 million, you can't argue it. He's earned it. And you're talking about a San Francisco team that goes into this offseason with $38 million in cap space. So there is room to fit this contract. But like I said, I'm interested in seeing the real numbers.
Okay. More to follow there, Rand. Sit tight because we're going to bring in our guy, Brian McFadden, to HQ. BMAC, I don't know if you heard Rand's comments there, but Brock Purdy now tied for the 7th most AAV as a quarterback in the NFL.
Deserving. I'm like Rand. I'm happy for Brock Purdy because he's an individual that has exceeded the expectations, becoming a pro. He's an individual that has actually kept some heat off of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan there in San Francisco because of his ability to jump into the lineup and not miss a beat. Because remember, he was never supposed to be the guy. There was 2 other individuals that were supposed to be QB1 out there in the Bay Area for the 49ers, and things did not go accordingly. And then in came Brock Purdy, who took advantage of the said opportunity that led to a nice, massive deal today for him. So kudos to Brock Purdy and being consistent and being able to face a lot of adversity, draft adversity, being Mr. Irrelevant and being able to cash in on a major deal today.
Let me follow up on that. And guys in the back, let's bring up that AAV chart once again that has Brock Purdy tied for 7th with Jared Goff at $53 million a year. Rand, let me go back to you because the 2 guys that are just ahead of Brock Purdy are both Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, and I'll even throw Jordan Love in there too at $55 million per year. To BMAC's point, if Brock Purdy was not Mr. Irrelevant, he was a highly touted first-round pick, would that have changed maybe perception of what we think this deal is?
I think so, to a degree. I'll say that because you're talking about there is a reason why he was Mr. Irrelevant, right? We're talking about the size. We're talking about the arm strength or the perceived lack thereof. However, all Brock has ever done was work to get in this position. I sat in the back of the plane with Brock as a rookie, saw him on road trips with his laptop out, with the call sheet, going through plays, going through the game plan as if he was starting, and this was well before he started. And to B-Mac's point, came into the season, was supposed to be Trey Lance's show. Trey Lance gets hurt, and then you move to Jimmy Garoppolo. Then Jimmy gets hurt. And what people don't realize is it was the Miami Dolphins game of that season, and Brock comes in, first time playing significant snaps, and Kyle Shanahan trusted him to throw the ball 38 times in that game, and we came away with a victory.
It's interesting. I think both you guys know this, but BMAC, I'll give you this thought here. Whether it's the first overall pick or Mr. Irrelevant, if you find a guy, you want to try to keep him, right? And Brock Purdy's certainly shown that in San Francisco, now the Bay Area, of what he can do. So given everything you know with the Niners, obviously last year with the Rams in the division as well, what's your thoughts on what they're doing right now? Kittle got a deal recently as well. San Francisco 49ers, in your eyes, BMAC, what is it?
They're trying to get back to being in that competitive conversation, right? Playoff-like conversation, championship-like conversation. And a year ago was basically an outlier of a year because they were hit with so many injuries, the key components on their team. Now being able to give extensions to George Kittle, being able to lock up your QB1 of the future moving forward, you can focus all your attention on the task at hand, which is the game of football. Remember, a year ago, they had so many distractions going on solely around Brandon Ayuk, the hold in, the hold out, trying to get a deal done. He flirted with other organizations. So it was almost like, after having a really, really good year in 2023, you came into 2024 with so many things that were not football on the field related. Now you're able to focus all your attention onto the current task at hand. Number one, getting healthy, staying healthy, and being able to be one of the more competitive winning teams that we've seen over the last few years outside of what we saw in 2024.
They do have, when speaking of the schedule release that we had this week, one of the easier schedules at 4-1-5 in terms of winning percentage of what they've got coming up there. And as we're taking a look at their full schedule, Rand, I want to get back to you in terms of team building and roster composition, because I know generally the dream is to try to win a Super Bowl during a window where you have a rookie quarterback. Now that you have to pay the quarterback, what's the challenge from a front office perspective?
I think traditionally, I think traditionally in what we're looking at now, and we're talking about this $53 million a year range, but I think the better way to look at it is look at it as percentages of the cap. Right? Because as the cap goes up, a lot of these numbers around the league are going to go up. And so now you're going to start seeing the smart teams, the San Franciscos, the Philadelphias, and teams like that that know how to maneuver within the cap spaces. How much of this is going towards your actual cap? And I think once the percentage starts to get high, that is when you should get worried and being able to construct an entire team. But don't let the number 53 million or 55 or even Dak Prescott 60 scare you away when you look at it from the standpoint of percentage of the cap.
B-Mac, you want to follow on that?
Yeah, and the thing I love about this deal as well, there are a lot of Brock Purdy haters out there that are saying he shouldn't be in the $50 million per year range. No, don't listen to that foolishness. He should be in the $50 million per range. But I like this deal because, Rand, you talked about the numbers, the inside numbers that we haven't been privy to see just yet. But just imagine if it is 53, right? He's nowhere close to having the Dak Prescott-like deal. He's getting less than Trevor Lawrence. He's getting less than Tua Tagovailoa, less than those guys. So the organization still has some money to play with to be able to add more pieces to their team. So if you're Brock Purdy, and you talked about how he came into the league, Rand, before becoming a player, still studying like he was a guy that said, I don't want to break the bank. I don't want to sit on top of the bank with a crowbar. I just want a fair deal. And guess what? They gave him a fair deal. He's happy with it. And he understands, because I didn't try to break the bank, there's still money left for us to add to other areas on our team that can keep us competitive in the National Football League. So I love it. Definitely a fair deal for either side. And I'm smiling from ear to ear, just like if I was Brock Purdy. And I'm not, because my pockets are extremely flat right now and his is inflated.
Here's what I'll follow up with that. I had 2 points, now 3. B-Mac, if you were on the other side of this getting $53 million a year, I don't think we would have you on camera right now, because you'll be in the middle of the street dancing, running up and down the street, probably with your shirt off. So that's a whole nother topic. However, 2 points. And we're talking about this quarterback market. We saw the top of the market is 60, and Brock's now in the 7th place at $53 million a year. However, one thing I'll say, it's the cost of doing business. No matter what you think about him as a starting quarterback, you have a starting quarterback in the National Football League that has led you to a Super Bowl. That is the cost of doing business. And then I'll take it a step further with my other point. You look at the other couple names that are above him, and who would you rather have leading your franchise at this point? And no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa, but would you rather have those guys, or would you rather have Brock Purdy and knowing what these guys have done with the teams that they've been surrounded with?
All right, Rand, B-Mac, certainly appreciate it. We got to hit a break here on CBS.